After hours, observatory dome promise on the star chart. The observatory on the hill keeps its breath the way a guilty man does, measured, deliberate, unwilling to be the first to speak. After midnight the public leaves with their souvenir moons, the elevator stops apologizing for itself, and the dome becomes a metal eyelid learning how to close. I signed the night register with a pen that made me briefly honest and slid my phone face down into my left pocket, the pocket I use for things that are supposed to make it home. The red floor lights traced a circle like a ritual I couldn't afford, and the telescope waited with the patience of a verdict. Back home, Avery had said, "Can we talk tomorrow?" in the voice that means please stay now. Our couch is excellent at becoming a witness stand. If we sit at opposite ends long enough, it swears us in. I left before either of us started rehearsing testimony we'd resent at breakfast. Halfway down the stairs, my screen lit with a message from R. Rowan in my contacts, R in the way I label hazards to make them smaller, domes unlocked. Just talk. Roofs forgive nobody in daylight. The sky pretends it will. By day I fix other people's paragraphs. By night I try not to turn my own into weapons. Avery and I keep a code that works when we remember it. T means come here, you awake. Means I'm scared. Tomorrow means not yet, but don't go far. Rowan drifted back into orbit 2 months ago wearing a guide's jacket unzipped one too many and a laugh that sounded like a glass agreeing to be set down gently. He didn't ask for anything. That was how I started bringing him everything. He stood under the slit of the dome with the constellation lamp behind him, collar open, sleeves pushed, the posture of someone who knows how gravity works on a room. He held a laminated star chart in one hand, a grease pencil behind his ear like a spare apology. "You came," he said, "because grown men keep pretending arrival is a plot twist." "I came to return something," I said. "My badge, your good sense." "Your name," I said. "It's been on my mouth too long for its own health." He smiled without using teeth, restraint that knows its own cruelty, and laid the chart on the instrument table, a clean rectangle under a red lamp. "3 words," he said, nudging the pencil toward me. "Why are you here?" "3 words is cruel," I said. "That's why they work." He touched the dome controls and the slit widened a degree, as if to make room for what a mouth might do. I wrote proud at breakfast. Beneath it, smaller like a fuse I might or might not light, touch before arguing. He read the graphite as if it had temperature. He didn't touch me. His hand hovered a breath from my lapel, the distance a match keeps during training, then fell to the edge of the table like we were already being graded. "Does he know?" Rowan asked. He didn't need to weaponize the pronoun. "He knows the apartment is quiet," I said. He glanced at the scope and then at me, and the little red lights gave him permission. He stepped into my weather, heat arriving before hands do when men are trying to be better than their appetites. "Tell me no," he said, soft like a decent trap. I didn't. I met him in the inch that rewrites evenings. His mouth tasted like mint and the idea of citrus. When his hand found the back of my neck, his grip remembered humane limits. My body answered like a courtroom that wants the witness anyway. He made the sound men make when a small country surrenders and calls it diplomacy. I made the one I've learned to forgive in myself when it belongs to him. We didn't rush. Domes reward precision, not speed. His mouth found the hinge of my jaw. Mine found the place behind his ear where regret loses vocabulary. His palm slid under my shirt and rested flat a second. "Do you swear?" And then moved with attention rather than appetite. He guided my hand down with the steadiness of someone who respects tools. I closed my fingers and he exhaled against my mouth a truth nobody paid to hear. He reached for me and I let him. We stayed quiet because steel prefers prose. The dome motor muttered like an accomplice that gets paid by the hour. "We already cheated," he said when breath found sense again. "We cheated when we started telling each other the truth before we told it at home." "I know," I said, and the telescope decided not to listen. He lifted the chart and slid it into my left pocket with ceremonial slowness. His thumb traced my wrist once and chose not to stay. He stepped back the moral inch that passes inspection. "I booked a room," he said, not triumphant. "Weather report, not prophecy. Refundable. We could stand at a window and not touch for 60 seconds just to prove we remember ceremony. We could keep the do not disturb honest." "I'm tired of being clever," I said. "Clever's a planetarium show," he said. "Accurate is the sky." He took a tiny magnet from the logbook drawer, a freebie shaped like a crescent moon, ridiculous and perfect, and pressed it into my palm. "For your fridge," he said. "Cold helps letters behave." We climbed to the catwalk that circles the dome. The city spread out like a map that refused to be folded the same way twice. He leaned on the rail and let the night approve of his collarbones. "Text me a weather report in the morning," he said. "Tell me if the kettle beat the reasons." "It usually does," I said, "when we let it." He kissed me again. Brief, exact, something a star chart could keep without lying to its coordinates, and stayed where he was when I turned toward the stairs. We didn't touch shoulders on the way past. We were both trying for accurate instead of noble. Outside the building, the air decided on a decent temperature and stayed with it. The crosswalk at the bottom of the hill gave me time. I took it. The apartment let me in with its square of kitchen light and the fridge's faithful hum. Avery sat on the floor with his back against the door, sleeves pushed to his elbows, one ankle crossed over the other, the posture manuals use when they draw people who are about to fix things. He didn't ask where I'd been. He tilted his head toward the space beside him. I said, "Do you want to be asked?" he said, voice steady, not performing mercy, offering it. "Please," I said, "because prompts are scaffolding when you've been building without permits." "Are you lonely?" "Some nights," I said. "Not here, not when you ask first, not when the kettle outruns the reasons." I took his wrist and placed his hand on my forearm the way he does when he needs to make sure I'm not inventing weather. His thumb traced once and decided to believe me. "I feel useful," he said. "I want to be wanted before I'm useful." "Tonight's procedure," I said. "Touch first, argue second, report later." The kettle clicked like a stamp in a country that still believes in mail. He stood and poured water over mint. We named it dinner because names are cheaper than regret. I pinned the star chart beneath the crescent magnet so Proud at breakfast faced the room. Avery read the graphite and his mouth did the smaller, braver thing. He took the dry erase marker from the cup by the fridge and wrote beneath the moon, "Tomorrow, keep the torque." He didn't grin. He nodded like a man assembling a morning from honest screws. We made a rule that isn't noble. When prosecution tries to wear a bathrobe, one of us says observatory and the other puts the kettle on while the first puts his hands where history can find them. We agree to 5 words when 5 are enough. We stop at the shoulder, not the ditch. We try to want what we promised, and when we don't, we write 3 words on small paper and tell the room we'll fail differently tomorrow. Days do what days do when you're trying to be an amateur human with professional consistency. The chart in my pocket learns the shape of my left hand. Paper learns its carriers. On the late bus, I draft messages to no one that begin I didn't ask, because I thought that counted as kindness and in may your breakfast go right. I don't send them. The not sending feels like a skill borrowed from domes that refuse to move faster than their tracks. A week later, afternoon tries to be a test. I walk past the observatory and buy nothing. I leave a bottle of water on the steps with a note, "For whoever is waiting for a sister." A volunteer glances up and gives me the nod bridges use when they've held and will hold again. On my way home, I slip a blank Finder chart into my pocket and write "turn" toward your name across the clean side. I don't light anything. That night we eat toast like it has been newly invented. We fail, and fail differently, and fail in ways that don't require anyone to stand under a slit of sky pretending to know which star will save them. The room does not demand a verdict. The morning remembers its job. And when we say tomorrow out loud, it means only what we let it mean.